Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment of Enview and Dint Golf Solutions Walking the Fairways. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host, and it's great to get some wonderful insight from podcast partner Enview. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fantastic to have back once again Yuri Carpro. G'day, Yuri. How you doing?
Hey, Steve. I'm well, thank you.
Yuri is joining us thanks to Enview. Fantastic people to have supporters of the podcast, and we're going to pick Yuri's beautiful mind, as I love to call it. Yuri, we're talking about perennial grass situations as weeds, and kikuyu is one of choice that you and I were just sort of thinking this might be a good one to talk about at this time of the year. It's quite relevant.
Yeah, it's that time of the year when things are starting to cool down, but the grass is still active, so we'll take up herbicide. But as it starts to slow down, with especially the cooler nights that we've been seeing, it's going to start sending its carbohydrate reserves down into the roots and the rhizomes. And when that happens, it can take the herbicide with it, so you end up with a better kill if you do it at this time of the year.
So this is the prime time as they start to protect themselves and sort of hibernate. Is that the right way of talking? Go into a bit of dormancy?
Yeah. It's a winter dormancy, yeah. So, this time of the year is perfect to be doing that.
So we're talking about, in particular, you mentioned kikuyu is a good one to target at this time of the year out of cooch.
Yeah. Well, I've actually just been doing our cricket wicket at the club where I'm a member of. We're getting some kikuyu encroachment into the wicket, so I've been doing it over the last few weeks. So, yeah, it's a program that you need to be to follow. So it's not a one-step application, but if you stick to the program, you'll see good results. So it's a perfect time of the year.
And certainly something, being a Sydney boy myself and a New South Welshman, it's certainly prevalent is kikuyu as a challenge often in cooch, fairways, for example, surrounds or even tees. So something that we want to be involved with and make sure we get on the right place. Now, in terms of Enview's products, what's the product of choice for that particular situation that Enview has available?
Yeah, Tribute's our product. It can be boom sprayed, it can be spot sprayed, so it's a liquid formulation, so it's sort of quite easy to measure out depending on how you want to apply it, what size infestations you've got. That's the product of choice from us.
Okay, very good. That's fantastic to see, and great to have that support from Enview and yourself, mate. So if we're looking to get any advice along the way, we can get in touch with the team at Enview and check out the website as well. Got great information on the website about the products. There's all the labels and the information there available for people to look at. But kikuyu is the one of choice. And does that include, mate, I got to ask the question, I worked on golf courses that have kikuyu in areas of their surrounds moving into potential encroachment on putting green surfaces of bent grass and power. Does that work in that situation as well?
It works from the sense of getting good control on the kikuyu.
Yes.
Now, some of these herbicides, you've got to be careful when you take them close to cool season greens because you can get tracking on the greens. So you need to be careful which product you choose in those kind of situations.
Okay, but kikuyu can be managed at this time of the year. Is a great time to be across it, and like you said, get your plan right, get your program ready, and work through those processes the right way, and you'll get the results you're after. And we can hit up the team at Enview and people like yourself, mate, to get that advice along the way as well. So, Yuri, I appreciate you jumping on and giving us some more tips about what to look for and the best timing to look at managing our surfaces better.
No problem at all, Steve.
Now, of course, as you know, Walking the Fairways is also brought to you by Dint Golf Solutions, and Dint Golf Solutions is more than a business. It's a legacy. Approaching 100 years in 2030, the company has grown from humble beginnings into a trusted name in the Australian golf industry, built on generations of knowledge, hard work, and a deep connection to the game. Today, it is proudly led by brothers Adam and Jonathan, fourth-generation custodians of the family business. Having spent over 20 years immersed in the greenkeeping industry, the brothers understand the challenges faced by course superintendents better than most. Their experience isn't just professional, it's personal. They've walked thousands of fairways and viewed the day-to-day demands course staff experience maintaining world-class playing surfaces. That's why Dint Golf Solutions is driven by a simple philosophy: provide the highest quality, backed by genuine, reliable customer service. For Adam and Jonathan, it's not just about selling equipment, it's about helping course staff perform at their best. As the business looks towards its centenary, the mission remains unchanged. Support the people who care for the game, just as the family has done for generations. And this is just another reason why I'm so proud to have Dint Golf Solutions as a partner of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. So go and check them out at dint.com.au. And without further ado, this is episode number 182. Now, we begin this segment of Walking the Fairways, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start off in the West. We're going to Western Australia. We've got some news coming out of the 27-hole public golf course at Collier Park. Now, they've begun some major works development on their site. Now, this facility is located a short 15-minute drive from Perth City across the Swan River to the south. These works that they are set to begin include building a new high-tech 2-storey 48-bay driving range, some new function spaces, a new restaurant, new paddle courts that are being built, and paddle's a form of sort of tennis-y type thing. It's a paddle sport, if you like, hitting with a rackety type thing. There's also a new playground as well being built. Now, a lot of this is around the clubhouse precinct of the golf course facility. The 27 holes of the golf course itself are not going to be touched during this rebuild, but there's a lot of work for the other complementary areas of the golf course. This is a near $20 million exercise for the local council. It's a big deal. And it's said that the money from the project is coming from the revenue generated from the golf facility. So all this money that's being done in this capital investment is essentially coming from the golf revenue itself from there. So they're expanding it to other sports and other types of things and other income revenue streams, but it's coming from golf at its heart, which is amazing. What a money spinner Collier Park is for the local council there in Perth. So golf is again funding more things other than golf, which shows you the strength that golf has not only on the local economy, but the local community and how much they view golf as a wonderful part of their everyday lives. And it's fantastic to see at Collier Park, and hats off to everyone involved in Collier Park Golf Course. Now we move slightly south of Perth and we're going to Mandurah Country Club, located about 1 hour drive to the south of Perth City, and they're set to begin a very large and important project of the club's history. They're set to replace their entire irrigation system. That's right, everything that's under the ground that delivers water to the turf surfaces around the entire 18-hole golf course at Mandurah Country Club. All pipes and sprinklers are being replaced on the entire golf course. This is a very, very significant project that the club have been working hard towards over the past 5 years. Now, something like this does not happen by itself. It doesn't happen by accident, and it clearly takes a lot of planning. And that's the only way you're going to get across a project like this. So well done to Mandurah Country Club on this one. It's a big step forward for them as they are investing big time in the quality of their golf course, and it doesn't get much bigger than a full 18-hole irrigation system, I got to tell you. Congratulations once again to everyone, including course manager Stuart Poole and his team for this exciting project ahead at Mandurah Country Club. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. If you know Mandurah, if you've been there before, if you're a member or a regular visitor, they are ready to improve. So there's a little bit of work in this. It usually does take quite a bit of time. They're ploughing some of the pipe work in, which is very minimal disturbance to the turf surfaces. A lot of the main lines are going to be trenched in, which will be a little bit, but they're often off to the side of fairways. But where you've got some of the laterals and things running across fairways, they're going to be ploughed in, which is a very clever way of installing subsurface pipework, and it leaves minimal surface damage. So a little bit of work ahead, but the payoff at the back of this for Mandurah Country Club will be a significant improvement. And what they had at the moment, and have had for quite some time in their irrigation system, is a block system where you get sort of 4 to 6 sprinkler heads turn on at once, and they work in blocks as you either move down the fairway or you do greens and tees at a time. And there are many shortcomings in that. often related to localised pooling and irrigation. Lots of water gets dumped on at one particular point in time, in a box shape, if you like, with being 4 sprinkler heads at a time. So it can produce localised flooding and leaves other areas a little bit short of water as well. So the distribution of that, the infiltration of water, isn't at its best. It's not the most efficient form. It's an older type of irrigation, and they're going to be moving away that to a much more high-tech and highly efficient irrigation system soon at Mandurah Country Club. So well done once again to the club. It's a big investment, and hats off to the club itself. Now we go from Western Australia, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head to South Australia, where work on the public North Adelaide Golf Course have officially begun this week as they fire up to redesign the south course of the North Adelaide Public Golf Course. There's 2 courses there. They work to redesign the south course under the design hand of Greg Norman Golf Course Design. Now, this work was announced by the South Australian Government, so the course could become the home of the ever-popular and outstanding global golf tournament that is Live Adelaide. On top of that, the course would also, in time, be able to host the Women's Australian Open, which they've planned to do, as Adelaide's the host for the Women's Australian Open for a number of years, and they'll be bouncing around on a local rota there. But the plan is that also with the upgrading of the public golf course here in the North Adelaide Public Golf Course, that they'll then bump it into the rota in Adelaide for the Women's Australian Open. So very exciting times ahead for this project in Adelaide City. It's a big one at that, and is a big deal, mainly because of the timeline, I've got to be honest with you. I think it's they're really pushing the envelope here with this build. It's the timeline is got to be ready to host Live Adelaide in 2028. Now, it's penciled in for that time, usually in the early part of the year, when they've scheduled it in February of late, and not sure if that's going to adjust and massage around, but essentially that gives the project, in my mind, about a 12-month build and a 6-month grow-in to be ready for Live Adelaide in 2028. So they have their work cut out for them. It's about 18 to 20 months away from now that they're scheduled to have it at the North Adelaide Public Course, with Kooyonga set to host the tournament next year as a one-off in between the Grange having finished it and the North Adelaide Public Golf Course set to host. So it's a tight turnaround. There's a bit of work to do on course. I've talked about the works in the past. I've showed some of the imagery on my social media channels as well, and I'll probably share some of that again just the same. But there's a bit of work to do here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. It's going to be. I'm personally very interested in following this project, and I'm looking forward to the outcome for Adelaide City. And I think it's a huge opportunity for Adelaide to set the cat amongst the pigeons, if you like, when it comes to public golf. As we've seen in Sydney and Brisbane, for example, they've been moving away from the public investment of public golf facilities with the disappearance of Victoria Park in Brisbane and the challenge towards other areas of Sydney Golf, Carnarvon Golf Club, Moore Park as well in Sydney. So, look, it's going to be interesting, but they've doubled down on public golf in this particular facility in Adelaide City, or North Adelaide as it were, which is just across the River Torrens near Adelaide Oval. And look, they've done big with Live Golf Adelaide. There's no hiding it. It's been a big cash cow for them, in a sense that the investment and the attraction of so many people, the biggest golf tournament in Australia that we've ever seen in terms of attendance. So it's a big one. And look, I'm really excited about it, as I mentioned. So one to follow and one I'll keep you up to date on, but they have, and look, the background, people are murmuring about Live Golf, its future, what's going to happen. I've got my thoughts on it. I'm a fan of Live Golf. For those of you that listen, that I love following the Rippers and Cam's team, and I think it's exciting when it comes to Australia in its big show, if you like. And who doesn't like getting involved? They get the kids involved. So many people, so much support around it. And I think Live will be here for quite some time. I don't think there's any dramas with the investment here, but we will wait and see, and we'll see how it's all going to go. But big news on course, regardless of where you think Live will or won't go, they are ploughing ahead with what's happening at the North Adelaide Public Golf Course in Adelaide. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to New South Wales, and here we go. there is nothing better than getting news and information straight from the horse's mouth, which I love to do as part of Walking the Fairways here on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. And I have joining us a guest that we've had on before, gives us great insight, Jared Kendler, Vice President of Moore Park Golf Club and leading the way, the charge to save Moore Park Golf Course itself. G'day, Jared. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Mate, thank you for jumping back on. You've been a guest a couple of times and great to give us a lot of info as we learn and understand the path forward and the challenges ahead for Moore Park Golf Course. And I think it was earlier last year, probably pushing 12 months since we had you on last with an update. Mate, I know the deadlines are coming, as we say. It's probably a poor choice of words at the moment for when things at the state government are looking to change what Moore Park Golf Course is as it stands. Can you give us a bit of a background on where we stand at the moment looking towards the, I think it's the June deadline for when things are about to potentially change?
Yeah, well, it has been a while since I've been on, and I'd love to tell you that there's been positive news since we last spoke, but I guess unfortunately from the government's, at least the government's perspective, they're still ploughing ahead with trying to reduce the golf course. And as you sort of mentioned there, they've been pretty clear in public statements that they have all intentions of starting their reduction of the golf course on July 1st. I wish I sort of knew more than what was publicly available, but that's sort of every indication that they're saying, which for us who've been leading the campaign is both disappointing but also highly surprising given the amount of information that we've been able to uncover over the last sort of 2 years about the this project and essentially how it just does not make sense on any level.
Well, yeah, you're quite right. And I think we had a bit of a flurry of push. Certainly it became a lot more in the public face through newspaper articles, and we saw lots of things. I think I remember seeing you'd been interviewed or questioned from a couple of publications about the status of the government's ideas, plus what the things were put forward from the golf club itself in terms of options available to continue to look at to see what could be done to save the space of Moore Park and make it more diverse in its land uses in its current size. That sort of all went quiet towards after that push at the end of the year, and both sides, I suppose, we haven't heard anything from the government side really at all, apart from the status quo remains that they're still going through, like you say.
Yeah, so the last, I guess, sort of public interaction that the government had was in November last year, where they had a second round of consultation, and put that in air quotes.
Yeah, yep.
So I would hardly call it either of them a consultation, but let's just call it, in their eyes, it was a consultation on what they labelled the draft establishment plan, which was had a 9-hole course on it. It had a whole bunch of things that they wanted to put on the space: soccer fields, playgrounds, upgraded driving range, added a mini golf, walkways, pathways. And they said that they could do all of that for $50 million. Now, we have...
It's almost a laughable number, really, isn't it?
If you think back to when I was first on this podcast, I quite experienced in this kind of thing. I used to lead precincts for the New South Wales government. When they initially announced this, tried to warn the government that it would cost them, in my view, at least $200 million. They flat out denied that. Then they set about doing the work of business cases and getting consultants in and all the kind of things that you need to do to push forward with a large capital project in the government. And fast forward to sort of the end of last year, we were able to get our hands on those documents that they tried to keep hidden through some freedom of information requests, essentially. And the opposition were able to get their hands on the full business case, and that's largely what has formed the basis of a lot of those articles you were talking about.
Yeah,
and
right.
Sure enough, not to pat myself on the back, but I was correct. The government's own business case said that the best thing for the state was to do nothing. So the best return for the taxpayer was do nothing. it confirmed that Moore Park Golf Course, as it currently is constructed, is one of the best performing public assets in the country.
Yeah,
Now,
wow.
So the best thing to do nothing. It keeps spinning off a ton of cash. It pays for over 50% of the operational budget of Greater Sydney Parklands. So if you go along to, kids are playing soccer at Queen's Park there at Bicentennial Park, that grass gets cut because of the revenues that the golf course gets.
You said
generates.
50% of the Parklands revenue budget comes from the revenue of Moore Park Golf Course.
Yes.
Wow, that's staggering. Yeah, and everything associated with the golf.
So everything associated with the golf.
The driving range, the golf course.
Driving range, all of it.
Wowee.
The 500,000 people that come to the golf facilities every year.
That's a staggering staggering number. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then the other things that the business case, there are other options that the business case assessed. The cheapest option in there was a $100 million capital investment, where the outcomes of that were, quite frankly, terrible.
Right.
The recommended, because they were sort of forced by the government to, we're doing something regardless of what the numbers say. So then the business case said, the preferred option actually is to spend about $220 million of CapEx for a whole net present value of almost $270 million. To convert 18 hectares over a period of a little over 10 years.
Really?
So do it in 2 stages. And the main reason, and this is sort of what was trying to tell the government from the start, which is you just can't deny that anyone who knows where Moore Park Golf Course is, it's landlocked by 3 or 4 of the busiest roads in Sydney.
Yeah.
It's not easy to access, and it also has 360 hectares of parklands within 2 kilometres. So to actually attract the people to this new park, that to force them to cross all these busy roads and to walk the more than 2 kilometres from the population centres in Green Square that they're using to justify all this, it needs to be one hell of a bloody good park, right?
That's right.
And that is why their own business case was resolute. It called out that if the government underinvests in the new park, it will face significant utilisation risks.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Just no one's going to use the thing.
Yep. That's the short version. Yeah.
That's the short version. And unless you build the best park where people will, do everything they can to get there, because it is so amazing. But even then, their own business case is just littered with doubts.
Yeah, wow. So there's lots of question marks around that overall
a lot of question
investment.
Marks, and the surprising thing for me was, given my sort of extensive experience in government doing projects like this, usually when you pay a lot of money for consultants, you actually do the work and you realise that it doesn't stack up at all. A level-headed government would have canned the project overnight.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? We are not going to spend this many millions of dollars when, particularly at a time like now, they could be better spent in other places.
Yeah, sure. Yep. And it all makes sense.
It all makes sense, right?
It is questionable. I'll probably zoom out on that a little bit without getting too political soon. But one of the things that I've been trying to find, I guess, from my standpoint, is you mentioned that earlier on that there's a consultation, in inverted commas, about what people were thinking would be the best option and the best use of that land if it was not going to be a golf course and what they're looking for. Have we heard any announcements around that? I couldn't find it anywhere searching online about those results.
Yeah, so that consultation, air quote consultation, happened in November. It's now end of April.
Yep.
No one's heard anything,
and they're soon to start, right?
Yeah. So, look, if you run a public consultation and it says everything you want it to say, that information can get out pretty quick.
Yep.
If it doesn't say what you want it to say, which I'm 100% sure it doesn't.
Well, it seems kind of odd that, and I'm far from diving into conspiracies, but at the same time, we're only 2 months, 8 weeks essentially from the start date of putting a fence around Moore Park Golf Course and carving half of it up, that we haven't heard boo about what the public thought in the public's response to these ideas.
Yeah, it's highly troubling and concerning, both as an ex-public public servant and as a community member and a taxpayer. Imagine you're going to do a home renovation, and you're going to go, all right, we're going to knock down the current house we've got that's perfectly livable. We don't have plans yet. We don't have council approval, but we'll just flatten it anyway and hope it all works out.
It'll all come out in the wash.
We don't know how much it's going to cost.
I hope you got deep pockets.
We've got a budget, and we'll just have to keep going till we find a builder. I don't know, there's how many analogies you could use.
Yeah,
it's not the way to do public infrastructure in my mind, or do any construction process.
Yeah, sure.
It is highly suspicious that a government has sat on what the community said for so long, and seems to be just, employing a bit of a strategy of, let's just wait the whole thing out and hopefully it blows over. We're also heading into an election cycle now. We've got less than 12 months until the next New South Wales election. Not to steer it into politics at all, but I think if it was deemed to be, if polling was more contestable right now, I think that we would have been in a very different place.
The sad part about a space like this being that it's public money that looks after the golf course space and it's on public land is that it can easily become a political football, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, that's the case we're in, I suppose, to a certain extent. And if we look at a couple of things that I'd like to maybe discuss a little bit is, if we zoom out, like I said, without getting too political, I grew up in the Blue Mountains. Currently, the Great Western Highway is closed indefinitely. They say 3 months at Victoria Pass, just to the west of Mount Victoria. It goes down to Lithgow. The only road that services the central west of New South Wales from Sydney itself that can carry that much traffic. There's a back road through Bell's Line of Road which is taking the load, but that's struggling at the moment. So with an indefinite part of that road being closed, I look at what this project is looking to spend and may well potentially spend overall in its time. There's other issues. And let's not talk about increase in government costs to fuel all the mowers that look after the parks and all those sorts of things in the current climate of fuel increases and fuel issues. So that's a political side of things that, to me, and you touched on before about spending money elsewhere, could easily be done. I just don't understand how they can be ploughing through with this particular project on that alone.
Yeah, it's what you've touched on is exactly why, and this sort of, maybe getting into the weeds a little bit, but why all major, all spends of government have to do a thing called, the cost-benefit analysis. It's to really ensure that any dollar that the government is spending is delivering a decent economic, social, health, well-being return for the government. And that allows, you'll get a benefit cost ratio number. In the current case for Moore Park, the as is, that's, I think it was from memory in the business case over 2.4. It means for every dollar invested, you get qualified benefits back to the state and the community of $2.40.
Right. Okay.
And that sort of that's to allow government and Treasury to go, well, actually, how should we be allocating some money? So using your Great Western Highway example, if I'm treasurer for a day, premier for a day, I would be putting every dollar towards that, because I'm positive that the economic and community benefits of having a functioning road to allow people to get into the Central West is much more important than anything else.
And we've seen
that could be delivered in the eastern suburbs of Sydney for a population that is going to the justification for a population that's going to be there in 15 years.
And look, everyone's going to argue every side of this possible equation. There's no doubt about it, and everyone's going to have a viewpoint, and that's understandable as well. That's the whole purpose. But I do sit there on a question. Like I said, I grew up, I know that region, and to cut off a major artery out of Sydney seems, not on. They haven't cut it off on purpose. It's the state of play of the road, which is a 194-year-old retaining wall and bridge that's holding it up, which is an issue. So I look at that and I see a problem. And then I go into the site itself, and you and I have talked extensively about the Moore Park Golf Course history and what it used to be, what may well be under that ground. How many times we've seen not just government projects, but private projects we all would know within our local family circles and circle of friends that things can go sideways pretty quickly when you start removing the surface of an area. And Moore Park Golf Course, the area in question, was a tip. I mean, it was the city dump underneath what it became. The whole reason it's there as a golf course was because it was the way to use the land, and it was an easy space to get hold of and convert that area into something that was usable. Once you start digging that up it's like many things. They'll do their testing, their soil testing after it's been given the go-ahead and there's a fence around it. Then numbers can quickly spiral.
They can. And look, and the government has seen that, multiple projects in the area, costs can really quickly escalate. And that's sort of going back to what I was alluding to before. I guess I have major concerns as both someone who used to look after this thing for the state and as a taxpayer, that you're ploughing ahead with something before you fully know the risks. Again, I don't sort of know anything that sort of too much outside of what's been reported in the media, but there were articles, an extensive reporting done on the fact that there is, they haven't actually released any results of any soil testing they've done. They haven't actually really done enough of the necessary planning works at this stage to properly evaluate the risks that are there.
Yeah.
And again, like there's good examples that have been done locally, not just on the sort of former tip site, but the whole sort of that coal corridor through there of old industrial lands is full of all kinds of contamination, and there's other parks that small on a much smaller scale that have seen their costs blow out by 100%. Because of having to do remediations and clean up asbestos and all those kinds of wonderful things. And so look, it does, and it's why because of our understanding as a golf club and golf community of the nature and history of the land, really down to the specific, the specifics of it all. Why, when we were put multiple plans, alternate plans to government, we left a lot of existing parts golf course because we also knew that you don't want to go scratching under that bit of land. So, the bits that we really focused on in our version of creating, and we showed the government in our plan how you could create their almost 20 hectares of parkland and still keep an 18-hole golf course. A lot of the parkland where we were intending to create it was areas we knew that were a lot more safe, but also where you didn't have to touch the topography.
Yeah, yep.
The most concerning part of the government's establishment plan that they put out at the end of last year that people meant to comment on was the whacked a soccer field on the top of the 18th tee, effectively, at Moore Park Golf Course. And if you know that the reason why that's the most elevated part of the golf course, the reason why it's elevated is not because of natural soils and rocks that are under there. It's the covered caps rubbish tip.
It's the buried items.
It's the buried items. It's the height of all the buried items. So
well, that's how I go back to Olympic Park and throw away there, because that's how Olympic Park was built. They literally buried a lot of the industrial stuff and capped it so that it's secure, tucked away. But you're not meant to go and dig it up again.
No, that's what creates the
mounding
the mounds and rolling hills on what would have been historically flat wetlands.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
Look, there is numerous examples here, and so the bit that I guess is, look, at its highest levels, we've extremely frustrated that the government has continued to pursue this plan to reduce the capacity at Australia's busiest public golf course. But we've said all along, if you do really feel the need, you have to add to the 360 hectares of existing parklands for a growing population. Just do it smartly and do it in a way that is going to be cost effective for the taxpayer and going to make every attempt to maintain the capacity for public golf, because the thing that is very prevalent, and everyone would know this probably on listening to this podcast, if you're part of the golf community, golf has never been more popular. Right? Yep. You can go up to Moore Park Golf Course tonight at dusk, and there's still people queuing to tee off. There is golf participation continues to grow at 10% plus per annum. I think we're at over 4 million golfers last year in Australia. Over 4 million people played some form of golf last year. And at the same time, there's never been more under threat. It's not just obviously Moore Park Golf Course. You've got Carnarvon here in Sydney as well, which, the government has in the crosshairs.
Yeah, Camaray.
You've still got the ongoing uncertainty around Camaray. And I guess my big sort of meta concern with Moore Park has been, once Moore Park's cut down, I think that the government will use that then as the case to continue coming after public golf courses.
Yeah,
it unfortunately has become a bit ideological, and if you look at just the messaging around Moore Park Golf Course, and there's this strong misconception that golf is somehow elite, and but the only way to how golf becomes elite is by taking away the public access versions, because the reality is they're not going to be able to get their hands on privately owned land. But there's a strong undercurrent, particularly here in New South Wales. It's not as present in other parts of the country, but in New South Wales, there's this strong undercurrent of trying to use golf as part of some culture war thing. And it's really unfortunate, because the reason why I've been fighting so hard for keeping the capacity at Moore Park is so that people who don't have the means and accessibility to expensive private golf in the area can still enjoy this great game.
Yeah, and you mentioned there, I mean, it's the irony of this whole project and this targeting of cutting down Moore Park is that Moore Park was the first public golf course in Australia, built for the blue-collar worker, built for public access. And it started out as 9 holes and expanded to 18. They looked at even going to 27 in its history, if you look back, and they didn't quite get to that point of building another 9 holes. But the essence of it was the whole purpose. And Dan Suter, who worked there for a period for 10 years as a professional, from 25 to 35, I think it was, and all his time and his commentary around it was that it was most important that Sydney had a place for the public to access the great game of golf, and it's part and parcel of the golf and the game's history in Scotland. I mean, that's
exactly
opening it up to everybody and allowing and making sure that as a country and as a city of Sydney, we had that availability for the common person, for the public blue collar worker to access the game. I mean, the stories that I've read of people catching trams, after work and dusk to go and play golf that they otherwise wouldn't be able to access at Royal Sydney or the Australian at the time, or Bonnie Doon, which are all the ones that are nearby that everyone's quoting that is golf available. It's not available.
They just say, oh, the standard line is, there's golf courses everywhere, just go play there.
Yeah, and that's what they can't do.
I'd love to. If you could spare, an extra however many, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and 5 to 10 years of wait lists.
Yeah. Yep.
Everyone would love to go there.
And that's the sad part.
That's the sad part, but the people who play at Moore Park on a daily basis are teachers, tradies, nurses, folks that unfortunately aren't going to have some of those options. And
we've talked about it before, and you've highlighted them through the social media of the Save Moore Park Golf Course page on Instagram, where people that love, that is also their only form of social connection for some of them, is getting down there on the weekend or during the week on their one day that they might play with their son who might visit, they get a chance to, or whatever it might be. There's this social connection, which is the centerpiece of Moore Park, and it's what makes the golf course such a wonderful space. And I was there when I played with you. You invited me down and we had a game. You could see the people that come and enjoy from all walks of life. It's far from the stereotypical view that many have of golf. It is the exact opposite, and it's what makes Moore Park such a beautiful melting pot of Sydney's society.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's I think look, the thing that is vital, whatever happens at Moore Park, and your guess is as good as mine right now. Hopefully we'll hear something from the government soon. But my biggest message to government is, even if, a scenario where you are cutting down the course, make every attempt possible to still maximise the capacity. So will come down to how you have good design. There's lots of innovative things that you could potentially do so that as many people get to get on a golf course as possible. It's thinking about some of those things like, adding lights, extending daylight hours. That allows more people to get access. There's a lot of things that can be done to ensure that as many people get to enjoy the game at a reasonable cost as possible. Yep. And that really should be the focus. I hope that there's some way in which we're able to keep a long form 18-hole golf course, but in a scenario where the government just plows ahead. Let's at least make sure that we've got a really good, thoughtful, high spec golf course so that people can continue to learn the game there.
Yeah, look, and that was where I was going to go next. Is potentially, does the club have a view, or does the team behind this push that you're leading have an idea of assisting the government if they keep ploughing ahead and they say this is it, the fences go up, but where do we go next? Is it about potentially thinking, like you say, thinking well about what is left to rejuvenate in some way, shape, or form?
Look, we've made lots of overtures to the government to keep us in the loop and have folks involved in the project who really understand golf and how to limit the damage.
Yeah, essentially, and as you said before, maximise the outcome.
Maximise the outcome, and I think that my views are that good. You get good outcomes when you involve the right people.
Yep.
And so, again, my message to government would be make sure you're, using the best in class folks that you can to get the best outcome, because what we've seen so far, and that was clear to anyone that looked at the establishment plan, clearly the people drawing up these sort of proposals had limited to no understanding of the game of golf at all. Basics like a park starting 5 meters from the edge of a fairway. I tried to, trying to explain to the government that, you can't have a pathway, a high traffic public pathway come through the middle of a golf course. That's like building a pathway through a rifle range. Yeah. Some of those basics, it just sort of unfortunately demonstrated that the people involved don't have the slightest understanding of the game. And so, again, my counsel to the government has been get some folks on board who actually know what they're doing.
Yep, and that's the crux of it. So depending on how things go, mate, we hope I really hope that there's some news that comes out before the fences go up. We can only hope that from a public perspective that we are involved in some information before the fences go up. That's information of value, and keep the public in the loop as to what's happening, and then should whatever happens, at least we hope, as you say, that the right people, that the government engage the best in-house, the best that are available in the industry to help them. Fingers are crossed, mate, for yourself, for the team, for the club, for the golf course, all parties involved, that that there's a maximising of whatever the outcomes are here, because we're still in the dark about it.
We are, and look, and I think I'd encourage everyone. These are good examples of why people need to lean in a democracy. People are going to get a chance in less than 12 months' time in New South Wales to have their voices heard, and you should be asking your local representatives where they stand on certain issues that matter to you. And for me personally, I'll be making it quite clear that anyone getting my vote better have a strong and supportive view on maintaining public golf in Sydney.
That's exactly right, mate. We need to lean in and be involved as a society, potentially more than ever. I think I've certainly started to sway that way myself, whether I like it or not. These are the cold, hard facts of life in this current climate. So, look, Jared, we are waiting with bated breath on the government's word about what's going to happen. I really do appreciate you coming on again to keep us updated and informed of where things are at, and say thank you for all of your hard work and those that are around you that support you and have been supporting you on this long road within the club, and the people that are close to you, mate. A big thank you. We hope to hear from the government soon about what's going on, and we wish you all the best in the club as well.
No, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the support.
Now we're going to move, ladies and gentlemen, from Moore Park, and a big thank you to Jared Kendler for jumping on the pod there. And it's been reported that the public golf course that is Bondi Diggers Golf Course in the eastern suburbs of Sydney has been forced to temporarily close down their second hole after a long-running neighbourly feud that has recently escalated. Now, reports are that the club received a legal letter from the neighbour asking that both the first and second holes be closed until the safety concern of golf balls entering their backyard can be resolved properly. At the moment, my understanding is that it's been reported that only the second hole has been closed down for play, and that is the hole nearest to the boundary in the sort of the southern side of the golf course itself. That's what's been closed down. So there's still 8 holes for play on the golf course as it stands. Not sure how long this is going to go for and the extent that it's going to continue, and whether there'll be changes to the course or just forego one for a longer period of time, amendments made, 2 holes closed. Who knows what the outcome's going to be as things move on. But it's escalated at the moment, forcing the closure of one of the holes. Now, this dispute has been running apparently since about 2021, when the neighbour in question purchased the particular property adjacent to the second hole. And will be interesting to see how this one plays out. So we'll keep you informed with the public Bondi Golf Course, the Bondi Diggers Golf Course there, right on the cliff tops in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. It's quite a spectacular location, and a very popular, a bit of a cult hero of late has become Bondi Diggers. So we'll keep you posted, as I mentioned. Now, we're going to move north of Sydney all the way up towards Newcastle in the north end of Lake Macquarie. We go to Charlestown Golf Club near Newcastle. They are full on into stage 2 of their golf course redevelopment works, and these works include a new first green complex, new tees and green complex also on their second hole, and some adjustments to the shape of the dam in this particular area of the golf course as well. Big work's happening here over the past few years at Charlestown, and there's a bit going on, and for the most part, they've been flying under the radar with these works, and it was all kicked off a number of years ago by the club wanting to install a new driving range, which they've done, and is well patronised by locals and members and visitors alike. They've done well with that one, and it's been a bit of a hit for the club. Now, these course improvements are on the back of this new driving range, and that shifted the first hole and the way that particular area works around the golf course itself, and they wanted to fit this driving range in. There's no doubt that driving ranges have become a popular addition to many golf courses where they can. On the back of the drive and the increase in participation of golf around the country has been quite incredible. And we're seeing golf courses either double down on their existing drive range, or in this case, as Charlestown, where they've installed one from scratch and made adjustments to the golf course around it to fit it into their property. So lots going on at Charlestown. And as always, with all these stories and these little items, I will endeavour to keep you up to date with how they're moving. But it's a good one to see at Charlestown, the local golf course up there on the north side of Lake Macquarie towards Newcastle, north of Sydney. Now we head down, ladies and gentlemen, off to the state of Victoria, where there's some fantastic news coming out of Gisborne Golf Club, located about 1 hour drive to the northwest of Melbourne City itself, in the town of the same name, being Gisborne. Last week, Gisborne Golf Club officially opened their brand new clubhouse. Now, it's been almost 2 years to the day to get this long-running project for the club back to this point where they've got a clubhouse. And this is after the clubhouse itself burnt down 2 years ago. A big new clubhouse like this, with all the modern conveniences, won't be able to replace the 100 years of history that was lost in the fire that burnt the clubhouse to the ground 2 years ago. But it certainly will go a long way to setting the 105-year-old club up for the future. And like I mentioned, huge news and a big congratulations to the club and everyone involved in this project. Building a new golf clubhouse is no small feat, whether it be on the back of something devastating like this where a clubhouse has burnt to the ground, or if it's a new build in general. They are a big exercise and it takes a lot of effort from everyone involved, be it members, paid administration in terms of the people working up in the clubhouse, or indeed the volunteers that are often on the boards. There's a lot of work that goes into these projects, along with obviously managing the construction from the construction company as well. So hats off to everyone. All things being equal, we hope that this building will serve the club for decades to come. And look, if you haven't been out to Gisborne Golf Club before, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time you went up there and had a game at their golf course and supported the club by going and experiencing what the local community of Gisborne has to offer the golf industry. So well done, and a big time, big moment, and congratulations to everyone involved at Gisborne Golf Club. Now we're going to move, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head to Anglesea Golf Club in the town of the same name, about 1.5 hours to the southwest of Melbourne on the Great Ocean Road, the spectacular Great Ocean Road. Now, they've been moving at Anglesea here, they've been moving through their new project of building a new short game facility. And this involves basically a green and practice bunkers and so on around there that you can practice with. That's the whole point. It's a short game practice facility, and it's located in the same space where the previous short game facility was, but this is an entire new rebuild. The new green has now been built and seeded, and the new bunker construction has now also been completed, and I believe sand has gone into the bunker works there as well. Well done to the course team, led by Superintendent Brett Ballack, on this project as they continue to work towards growing the turf surfaces in as much as they can now before the cooler temperatures start to slow things right down. So a great project at Anglesea, and look, if you've never been down to that part of Victoria, that part of the country in general, it's worth a drive if nothing else. If you're going to go down and take your bats with you, there's good golf along the Great Ocean Road to experience as well. But here at Anglesea, it's probably really at the start of, if you like, the start of the Great Ocean Road before you get to Lorne and you start to really get swept up in the beauty of that region down there. It is a magnificent part of the country, and there's lots of golf around that region, even just a little bit shorter as well into the Bellarine Peninsula. So that's what's happening at Anglesea, and thought I'd give you a bit of an update. We don't often hear from some of these more smaller regional clubs, but well done to the team on course at Anglesea, as I mentioned, led by Superintendent Brett Ballack. Now we're going to flip to the other side of Melbourne, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to go to Garfield Golf Club, which is located about 1.25 hours drive to the east of Melbourne, past Pakenham, for those of you that know that part of the world. Now, they've just finished rebuilding their 11th and 15th tees, and brand new turf is down and is growing in. Now, this is a big step forward for the Golf Club itself at Garfield, and a shout out to the course maintenance team and volunteers that helped get the new turf on the ground on these new tees. Like I mentioned, a big upgrade for some. I love to talk about these smaller clubs, and Garfield's probably one that not a lot of people have heard about. So it's out the eastern side there. You can take the freeways. Just wonderful work that's been done in terms of upgrading some of these roads out of Melbourne, getting further away. And this one's a freeway almost all the way down there past Pakenham. It's easy to get to on the motorways out of Melbourne, and then you jump on and it just continues off into a freeway as it gets out into some of the regional farmlands down there past Pakenham. And Garfield is not far to the south of the regional township of Garfield, just off the main road, if you like, and it looks like a great little golf course there. And some of the parts, there's a drain, I can't remember the name of it, there's a drain, Wakefield Drain I think it was, that runs along a couple of the southern holes on the flank of them on the right hand side. It looks like a great little golf course in a regional area, and probably, again, worth a visit if you're getting down that way. It's on the way out towards Leongatha, which is a famous regional golf course that's down that way as well. So a shout out to the team at Garfield. Well done here on their 11th and 15th tees. Now we head north, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to Queensland this time, and another small regional golf course that I wanted to shout out to, and that is the 9-holer at Kilcoy Golf Club, located about 100 kilometres to the northwest of Brisbane, and it's also probably, if you know the Sunshine Coast, it's about an hour's drive directly west of Caloundra. Now, it's in beautiful country there at the north end of Lake Wivenhoe, which is one of Brisbane's major water supply lakes, and Kilcoy Golf Club have recently invested in their course maintenance and the presentation and quality of their turf surfaces, particularly on their greens here, with this new purchase of a triplex greens mower. So congratulations to the club on this investment. It's great to see some of these smaller clubs work hard at this opportunity to improve and invest in the maintenance of their turf surfaces. In here, like I mentioned, at Kilcoy, it's their greens with this mower. Now, I've just had a quick look on Google Earth, and to see what Kilcoy is all about, looks like a nice little 9-hole golf course, and like I mentioned, it's certainly in a beautiful part of Queensland, just to the north of Wivenhoe, Lake Wivenhoe there. And it's set in this sort of, you can see the hills and the mountains a little bit more to the north of the golf course as well in some of the photographs that I've seen. And from what I can gather, the second hole looks like it's a bit of a ripper there on the golf course. Now, the second hole is at the northern end of the property, which is incidentally the lowest point where everything falls down into that area of the golf course. And also everything from there will flow. There's a couple of drains and creeks and things, and there's a dam there, and that all flows into Sheep Station Creek off to the property, and then it swings around as it goes into Lake Wivenhoe. But like I mentioned, there's a dam there at the north end, and the second hole is a par 3. It's a short par 3 that you play across the dam. It looks like a little ripper, so I had to give that one a mention. It's great to see these smaller clubs finding a way to invest in their turf surfaces by upgrading their machinery, and Kilcoy is another one that I've found to mention their hard work with this investment. It's great to see, and hats off to the golf club at Kilcoy and the membership there and everyone involved, because at a small club, particularly at a 9-hole golf course as well in a regional area, it's not easy to find funds like this, and these triplex greens mowers aren't cheap anymore. I say cheap anymore because they were a lot less in numbers when I was superintendent than they are today. But it's hard work for clubs to save for them, to set money aside for them. But it's also equally important that as a golf club, you look at what you've got ahead of you for the machinery. Look, a golf course is only as good as the people that are looking after it, but also the tools that they have to use looking after it. So I love to see this where golf courses, and I keep mentioning it, where golf courses and clubs are investing in their personnel and investing in their machinery. And that's a great thing to see. It's great to give you an indicator of how the club's travelling. So hence the shout out to Kilcoy Golf Club in Queensland, and great work. Now, to round out this segment of Walking the Fairways, I thought I would mention, again, some news has come to me of a new superintendent's appointment. And that is, shout out to Zach Amer, who in early March was appointed superintendent of the wonderful Port Fairy Golf Club in Victoria. Now, for those of you who don't know much about Port Fairy Golf Club, Port Fairy, the town, is located about 3.5 hours drive to the west of Melbourne by car, and about 30 minutes just to the west of Warrnambool, which you've probably heard of as a regional town. Now, the golf course itself at Port Fairy is just out of town to the northeast slightly and was built along the shores of the beach of the same name. The golf course at its western point is wedged between Port Fairy Beach and Belfast Loch, which is an interesting little landscape there. The course is set on genuine links land with holes running the majority of the time east-west over the dunes along the beach. I actually met Zach when I was down at the Oz Open, the Men's Australian Open at Royal Melbourne, and Zach was volunteering down there as well at the tournament, and it was great to meet him in person, albeit briefly, in amongst all the craziness of the work of the Australian Open. But I was excited, incredibly excited for Zach to hear that he's now leading the course maintenance team as Superintendent of Port Fairy, and I wish him well in the role, and a big congratulations to Zach. And hearing the news, look, it's fantastic, and Port Fairy is one of those golf courses that gets a great rap from many people, certainly some big names, and one that springs to mind is Mike Clayton, who's talked about it, and he's been there, and he's also done some work there in the past to some architecture design work on the golf course as well, making some improvements there from time to time. But it's a great golf course that gets talked about. I've not been there myself, but I know plenty of people that give it some enormous raps. So if you haven't been down there, and if you haven't been there for a while, you'll know that Zach is now the new superintendent, but you'll know that it's probably worth another visit. And for those of you that have never been there before, I think it might be time, if you've been thinking about it, to make the trip. So congratulations to Zach on the new appointment as superintendent at Port Fairy Golf Club. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to an end of this segment of Enview and Dint Golf Solutions Walking the Fairways. A big thanks to Jared Kendler from Moore Park Golf Club for coming on and giving us an update with exactly where Moore Park Golf Course is at. Now, also, don't forget to reach out to me on socials, or you can send me a direct message there on socials, or send me an email to thegolfinggreenkeeper@gmail.com. If you or your club want to share what you're up to and how you're improving your golf course, no matter where you are in Australia or New Zealand, small club or big, it doesn't matter. I'm here to share how you're improving and what you're doing to make your course better for all the golfers out there that enjoy playing this wonderful game of golf. Now, please check out the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. There's lots of clickables in there as always. I've done a lot of the homework for you. It'll take you straight to some of the things that have been talked about, in particular the golf clubs that I've mentioned. If you would be so kind as to please leave a review or a star review, a comment is even better. All of this goes a long way to sharing the podcast out to those people who are interested that have never come across it before. So I really do appreciate your help in this regard. It does go a long way to making a difference for me and for everyone involved that supports this podcast, and we continue to make it grow. A big thank you to yourself for taking the time to listen to me talk on the podcast and hear some of the guests that we've had on, like Jared, as I mentioned, but also you've heard from the great Yuri Carpro from Enview, and a big thank you to Yuri for jumping on the podcast. Don't forget, like being a partner of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast that Enview is, Enview can be your partner on your golf course with their science-based solutions and expert advice to enhance your turf maintenance. You can check out their products and everything that they have on offer to help you do your job better and maintain the quality of your golf courses better by going to enview.com.au, that's envu.com.au, and go to the turf and ornamentals page, and that's where you'll find out their list of products. Make sure you hit up your reps, your local distributors of Enview products, and find out just what products are there that suit your needs and that might be able to give you a solution to what you're looking for. Like I said, it's great to have a partner on the podcast like Enview, and they can be your partner on your golf course. A big thank you also to partners of the podcast, Dint Golf Solutions. Check out their website and all their products available at dint.com.au, that's dint.com.au, and make sure you follow them on socials, and you can find them on Facebook and Instagram as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for another segment of Enview and Dint Golf Solutions Walking the Fairways. You hit 'em clean, we'll keep 'em green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.